resignation of Richard Nixon in the midst of Watergate when I was working while I was in college for a small radio station in Dover, Delaware. That was my summer job when I was in school. And actually, I'm a child of Watergate in a lot of ways, because when I was in high school in Dover, Delaware, which is where I grew up, I like to write, so I always enjoyed that, and I decided I'd really like to find a way to make a living writing. And so I thought I could go starve in a garret somewhere and try to write the great American novel, and that would sort of be maybe a long shot. Or I could look for a profession where I could write and probably get paid and make a living. So that led me to think about journalism, and so I went to a summer journalism course that back in those days was taught by Blair Academy in Blairstown, New Jersey, and they had a 6-week summer program for high school students between your junior and senior year, and it was a really intense exposure to journalism. And they even took all the students. We went to Washington, D.C. on a field trip. We went to New York City, saw the press room of the New York Times and the newsroom and how all that operation worked. In D.C., we got to tour the Capitol and then the White House and meet with reporters and those news bureaus. And that happened to be in 1972, the summer of the Watergate break-in. And so just coincidentally, I've taken a summer journalism course, and I'm in Washington, D.C., and I'm in New York, visiting the New York Times in the middle of all those reporters and that mad scramble to try to figure out if it was just a third-rate burglary, as the Nixon administration called it, or whether there was something more. And it was as I remember, we had one of our meetings was at the White House, in the White House press room, and we met with President Nixon's press secretary, and he pointed to the door of the office and he said, that's the Oval Office, through that door, and he said, President Nixon is right there. And of course, we're all wishing, oh man, well, maybe he'll poke his head in and say hello. And unfortunately, that didn't happen. Well, years later, I met some of my friends who were graduates, were alumni of that summer course, and one of them said, yeah, when they released the Nixon tapes, the Watergate tapes, finally, and it was decades later, he said, I went back and I looked for that particular date that we were in the White House, and one of the incriminating conversations that went on in the Oval Office actually happened on that day while we were there.